And a lot of the tragic things that are happening with men and boys in a great number. Some of our speakers are going to address that issue because a lot of the men and boys become imprisoned. And there are things out here for them when they come out of that particular system. And anyone who is in prison, they're still, in many cases, our brothers, our sisters. They're related to us. They are people. And we should do the best to help them become the best that they can be, as we strive to be the best that we can be. Our speakers and talent presenters, they've come here today to address some of these things and also to offer prayer for our men and boys. So I'd like to start this program off with Minister Alif Allah. Give him a nice round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
Peace be unto you. For those of you that may not be familiar with those words, they are more than words. They are vibrations from one heart to another heart, from one nature to another nature. I come before you humbly as a student, follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I am honored to be working in unity at the very first, not the second, but the very first annual International Day of Prayer, and the very first, the award, the foremost, the cream of the crop, the Unitarian Church, right here in the city of brotherly and sisterly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We are here for a very serious reason, though, today. We are here to offer up a prayer that is not an adjective nor a verb, but a noun, a person, place, or thing, meaning that a people must be in a certain place doing something in order for God to hear our prayers. Because the good book teaches us that faith without works is dead. I come before you not as a Muslim, not as a Christian or a Jew, not as a Mormon or an atheist. I come to you humbly as a human being, a brother in the struggle for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality. I pray to Almighty God, and I don't care what name you may call him or her. Whatever name or nomenclature you may use to describe the creator of the heavens and the earth. The creator understands all things and is the best knower. And the creator wants good for us. So I pray to our Heavenly Father, who is not a ghost or a spook, but a true and living God, a God of power, a God of love and mercy and grace and temperance, of knowledge and wisdom and understanding, a God that the scriptures teaches us that the kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So I come before you in this beautiful church, understanding that the real church is you, the called out ones. This is what the prophets of God taught. All of the prophets of God taught the same thing, just in a different way. So we can't argue over scripture in this day and time. I'm Baptist, I'm Methodist, I'm Pentecostal, I'm Jehovah's Witness, I'm Catholic, I'm Sunni, I'm Shia, I'm FOI, I'm 5%, I'm out of my mind. And while we running around arguing over these divisions, Satan is laughing because he knows that a house divided against itself cannot stand. So I pray to you in the name of God, who created the heavens and the earth, the master of the day of judgment in which we now live. I come to you humbly in hope that you understand the importance that you must stand up and do your part in the struggle for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality. And as my sounds travel 1,120 feet per second, and they go past that 6-mile-high atmosphere and go past that 93 million miles away sun, and it vibrates the very atoms that comprises our universe that covers 238 continuous 640 quadrillion miles. Keep in mind that God is the best knower, and he is the creator of good and evil, darkness and light, righteousness and wickedness. But he allows us to have free will. He allows us to use our consciousness to bring our actions up to par with our thinking, to allow us to make our prayers so by having faith and believing it is so. So when we knock, it shall be open. When we seek, we shall find. When we come together, God is in our midst. So I pray to Almighty God for blessing us to come together, not for the football game, not for pizza, not for sport and play, but for a serious subject, to offer out a prayer for the men and boys around the planet Earth that covers 196,940,000 square miles. Because God adds and multiplies, but the devil divides and subtracts. We have a universe that is comprised of positive forces. We call them protons. This days, this room, our very beings has positive energy, protons. It also has neutral forces, known as neutrons. And it also has negative forces, known as electrons. So we don't have to look around for what is good or what is bad. We just have to look in the mirror and to make a choice as to whom shall we serve, God or the devil. Which should we do? Go for peace or war? Because we see on this planet, we have people that are fanatics. We see on this planet, we see boys locked up, incarcerated with life without parole at the age of 14 and 15 and 16. And the Supreme Court said that is illegal. Yet we have brothers and sisters sitting up on death row. We have people homeless right here in this city. Children that did not have any food to eat last night. So when I look at the scriptures teaches us that Jesus was a man that said, feed the hungry. He said, clothe the naked. Go to the hospital and visit the sick. Go into the penitentiaries and county jails and visit those that are incarcerated. He said, because if you do this for the least of my people, you do it for me. So God is love. What is love? Love is an elevation of understanding of those who are original. So we pray to our Heavenly Father that He bless us individually and collectively to do something for ourselves so that we can go out as a unit and save the soul of some little boy or some man. You don't have to know them personally. Just recognize them as you recognize yourself. And that is my prayer. And we open up this International Day of Prayer with the faith and perseverance in the works of Almighty God, that you can help us to help you to help yourself. Thank you for your time. Peace.
And a lot of the
With the string of shootings, how can a person file a complaint against a cop or officer?
That's a very important question in this day and time. How to file an official complaint if you have a problem with a police officer. We would like to share this information primarily with our youth and our people in general, because we see that too many of our people are getting in situations where the police are saying that they are resisting arrest, they are a threat, and as a result, they're being charged with felonies, they're being beat, and unfortunately, some of us are being murdered on the streets of America. And one of the many options that we have out there is understanding your state as well as your U.S. constitutional rights. Under the U.S. Constitution, you do have the right to due process of law. You have a right to be secure in your person against unlawful searches as well as seizures. You have the right to privilege. You have the right to peacefully assemble. However, you must understand with these rights, anytime someone gives you a right, they could take that right from you. So we're not naive enough to expect our oppressors to give our people freedom, justice, and equality. That's not what this is about. What we're saying is, in the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality, you have to use whatever is at your disposal to defend yourself. Because the first law of nature is self-preservation. So it's with that in mind that we would like to share with you how to file a complaint if you have a problem with any police officer. That problem may be a perceived one. You may be correct, you may be incorrect. The officer may be just doing his or her job, or that officer may be corrupt. However, what we're seeing is young black men in particular being bust upside their head, shot all over their body, because the officer feels as though that individual is a threat. And as a result, they are literally walking away under the banner of a justified homicide or a clean kill. Mothers are grieving, grandmothers are grieving, fathers are grieving, grandfathers are grieving, brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and sons and daughters, the family, the community, our people are so hurt right now. We need to understand that the struggle is difficult. And there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to kill somebody else, unfortunately. However, if we can help just one person save their life, if we can help one person get one corrupt one off the street, it'd be welfare. It'd be our duty. It'd be in service to the people. So we want to share with you briefly, for the sake of clarity, how to file an official complaint. First of all, depending on what city you're in, you need to check with your particular city or state. But in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you would simply go to www.phillypolice.com, and online you'll see this form. A simple form, it's not complicated. You can fill this form out with your smartphone, a tablet, with a laptop or a computer, or you can simply walk into any police district in your city and simply ask them, can you have a blank police form? You could take the form home and fill it out in the privacy of your house, or you can fill it out right there at the police station. Now, I would like to share with you the actual legal process part. It says, the Philadelphia Police Department is responsible for protecting Philadelphia's citizens, detecting crime, regulating traffic, and dealing with a variety of neighborhood problems. The Internal Affairs Bureau was established for the purpose of investigating allegations of improper conduct by members of the department. Upon receipt of a citizen complaint, every effort is made to ensure a thorough, fair, and timely investigation of the allegation or allegations contained in the complaint. In most instances, we believe Philadelphia police officers work in partnership with citizens and that our contacts with citizens are positive. To ensure we function efficiently while maintaining the rights of the citizens we protect, Philadelphia police officers are trained to follow a series of policies and procedures and work within the guidelines of local, state, and federal laws. Because of the nature of law enforcement, we also understand that citizens on occasion may object to the actions of the police or may feel their conduct is inappropriate. Therefore, we have established procedures for citizens to report their concerns to the Internal Affairs Bureau. If you wish to fill out a paper complaint form or learn more about the process, visit the complaint process /forms-reports/official-complaint-process page, or simply just go on phillypolice.com and you fill out the form right there. The official complaint form, you filling out this form would be the complainant. They would want your name. If you have a middle name, you can put your middle name, your last name. The middle name is not necessary, but the first and last names are mandatory. Your street address, your city and state and zip code is mandatory. They prefer that you add your age, your date of birth, your gender, your race, your occupation, A phone number is mandatory and an email address is mandatory. A receipt of your submission will be sent to the email address you provide above. A copy will also be sent to the victim, if not complainant, and person assisting complainant, if applicable. So, in this electronic form, they explain it to us that the Internal Affairs Bureau was established for the purpose of investigating allegations of improper conduct by members of the department. Now, this is not to say that if you fill out the form, you're all of a sudden or magically going to get justice. However, what this is saying is that there is a method, there is a policy or a procedure in place already where if you're walking down the street or driving in your car or you're in the privacy of your home and you have a beef, if you will, dissatisfaction with a cop, white, black, whatever, if the cop is doing something or not doing something that violates local, state, and federal laws, whether you're right or wrong, it's not the issue. If you think that, if that's your perception, as opposed to you getting emotional and arguing and fighting and resisting the cop and giving them justification to include additional felony charges against you, giving them justification to beat you upside your head, to break your bones, to jump you, to taser you, to electrocute you, to strangle you, to blow your brains out, to shoot you from head to toe. Instead of getting into all of that, this gives you the opportunity to say, you know what? You right, officer. Whatever. You want to show wisdom and the ability to survive. If you go in the ocean, if you go to Africa in the jungle, if you go in the desert, if you study the birds of the air, you'll find that everything in nature understands its opponent. It understands there's rules to warfare. And in those rules of warfare, those that violate the rules of warfare often lose their life. So if you have a bunch of chickens and the chicken hawk comes, if the chickens don't heed the call, somebody gonna get scooped up. If you go in the waters and you see a bunch of tuna and a shark is coming and you don't know how to move or you don't know how not to move, you may become lunch. This is the nature of reality. Piranha fish don't hate goldfish. Piranha fish love goldfish. They eat goldfish. You have to understand that dynamic. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that one of the characteristics of the devil is that he's like a snake. Now there's all kinds of snakes. There are water moccasins that are black, and when they open their mouth, they got a white mouth. Or they got a black body, but a white man's mentality.
Right.
You have the king snake that looks good. They quiet, but they deadly as hell. You had a king snake, but you also have rattlesnakes that make a lot of noise, but when they strike, they're very, very powerful with their venom. There's snakes like the garden snake. It's a real snake, but it's relatively harmless. That snake, even if it bit you, it really wouldn't hurt you. It definitely wouldn't poison you. Then you have the constrictors, and they like to use their muscle. They like to strangle you. They like to choke you out. You got some that pop steroids, and when they in that road rage and they get amped up, and here you might have had a few Coronas, smoked a blunt, you might be mad at Shaniqua, you may be stressed out because that money ain't come through, and you're fearless. You're not afraid of the police and nobody else for that matter. And what happens is all of those mixed emotions leads to the wrong motions. Maybe on that side, exclusively, because sometimes the cops are just wrong. Sometimes you have officers that come with evil intent. So you have to be mindful of that. But at the same time, if he or she has a badge under the law, if he or she has a Glock with one in the chamber, if he or she has the backing of the establishment or the system, you cannot legally or logically justify yourself by saying, I'm going to fight this guy on the street, or I'm going to argue with this guy, curse him out or curse her out. Because what you're doing is you're opening yourself up for all types of chaos. Now, maybe at that moment, you may feel as though you want the trouble. Fine. As long as you understand that that officer, many of them been overseas in the military. They've been to Afghanistan. They've been to Iraq. They've been to Iran. They've been around. They know how to shoot real good. Killing is not a theory. They already killed before. They have no qualms with pulling the trigger. They don't understand your niyat or your intention. You may have a good intention. You may have a fear factor. You may be on probation or parole. You may have a gun on your hip and the police come and you're like, oh man, I'm on parole. I got a bang in the car. You ain't trying to shoot the cop, but your thing is, this gun carry a mandatory sentence. So in your brain at that moment, you're saying, I got to get rid of this gun. So if you're running, you're simply saying, let me throw the gun away. But when you go to toss that gun, all he see, gun, boom, 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 boom. There you go again. CNN, Channel 6, Action News again. Another black man or black woman dead. It's that easy. So you have to use good judgment and discretion. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not telling you all cops are perfect. I'm saying you have to understand the psychosis of survival. You got to understand this part in here. They put it like this. Let me reread a part of this for you. They said, police officers are trained to follow a series of policies and procedures. Now, the balance of that is, and work within the guidelines of local, state, and federal laws. Now, that's the balance. Now, that balance is usually subjective. It's in the officer's mind. It's according to his or her perception in that instant. What was he thinking? Not that he could have did it differently, or he should have, or could have, or would have, or didn't. That's not what matters when you go before a petite jury or a grand jury. A petite jury up to 12 or a grand jury up to 25. That is not an issue to them. What they're looking at is, when that officer said back up, did you back up? If he gave you a direct order to back up and you did not back up, at that moment, you put yourself in the line of justifiable homicide. If the officer said, put your hands behind your back, and you wanted to ask a question like, what is you arresting me for? He already said, put your hands behind your back. So what are you doing? You're giving him or her an opportunity to rock you. Plain and simple. We've seen it. We're going to continue to see it. Unfortunately, hopefully, we're going to be able to deal with this from the perspective of natures and understand how to deal with a situation and come out of it alive. Even though you may not get your justice right there instantly, we need to realize that we have to use mathematics. We have to know when to add, when to multiply, when to divide, when to subtract. We have to understand how to use the mathematics for survival's sake. Because in nature, when the snakes come, there are creatures that understand don't move. There's creatures that understand move as fast as you can. There are creatures that know how to blend in or use camouflage. All of these things are in nature to teach the creature how to survive in the physical jungle. Likewise, human beings walking in the concrete jungles of North Philadelphia, Germantown, South Philly, West Philly, the Northeast, the outlying cities and states around the world for that matter. We have to learn how to survive engagement with an opponent. So, they want your information on part 1 of the form. On part 2, they want you to explain the officer, or if it's more than one, the officer's complaint against. They want you to give, if you know it, the officer's full name, rank, the select rank, the badge, if you know it. Some of this information, of course, under those circumstances, you wouldn't know it. The district and or unit, the uniform, was they in the police uniform? Was they in plain clothes? The duty status, was they on duty? Was they off duty? The transportation, was they in a private car, a police car? If you know the vehicle number, the license plate, if you know the officer's height, weight, hair color, the eye color, the gender, was it male or female, their age or about age, if you know that race. There's even a section where you fill in what's called additional details. And this is how the form actually looks online, and you can fill that out. Now, if it's a second officer, you would add that information. Then it's a part that explains detailed description of complaint. They would like, it's mandatory, the date of the incident. Because if you say, Officer so-and-so called me the N-word on June the 15th, 2014, and they look at it like, June the 14th, Officer so-and-so wasn't even working. He's on vacation with his family in California. What is you talking about? The time of the incident, if you know the hours, the minutes, if AM or PM, was it in the daytime or nighttime? The location of the incident, the address or the intersection or the place of business, if you know it. And they want a detailed description of the incident. Then there's a confirmation section. The confirmation section is similar to doing legal work or getting something notarized. It explains, I hereby confirm that the above information is true and correct. You type in your full name, which is considered your electronic signature. If you have a hard copy, you would simply sign it, and then you have to put the date on it. Now, this official complaint process, it goes on to read, every citizen complaint is reviewed by the Internal Affairs Division Commander. The big boss inside Internal Affairs look at each one of those. This is not to say Internal Affairs is perfect, is pro the people, is going to always get it right. That's not what it's saying. This is simply giving you legal tools and remedies to help you protect your neck. If the complaint is of conduct that would violate police procedures or laws, an investigation will occur. Some complaints are referred to the district commander of the officer or officers involved, who will assign a supervisory officer to investigate the complaint. Investigators will interview the concerned parties and witnesses, record their statements, and gather other relevant data. The completed investigation will be forwarded to the Internal Affairs Division Commander, who reviews the investigation, recommends corrective action or sustained complaints, and forwards the completed investigation to the Deputy Commissioner of Internal Affairs. When the investigation is completed, you will be notified of the disposition of the complaint. Investigations can have the following outcomes. Number one, unfounded. The investigation indicates the acts complained of did not occur or did not involve Philadelphia police personnel. Exonerated. The investigation indicates the alleged act or acts did occur, but were within the policies, procedures, and guidelines as set forth by the department. Not sustained. The investigation failed to disclose sufficient evidence to clearly prove or disprove the allegations made. Sustained. The investigation discloses sufficient evidence to clearly prove the allegation made in the complaint. When a complaint against an officer is sustained, the report is sent to the commander of the involved officer for appropriate action. Discipline for infractions can occur in the following manner: training and or counseling, reprimand, suspension from duty without pay, termination from the department, criminal prosecution. So, say you filed a formal complaint and you didn't get justice. They said, well, we found no evidence to substantiate what you're saying. Okay, they say it's unfounded. That don't mean it's over. That means that they said it's unfounded. That helps you still because you formally covered your tracks by filing and using the proper procedures or the proper channels. And that allows you to file a 1983 civil action or a lawsuit now. You can file your own lawsuit. You can get with a lawyer. He can take and file a lawsuit for you on a percentage basis, a third or 40, 60%, whatever way you want to mathematically do that. But it puts you in a stronger position because it allows you to immediately record the facts and circumstances of what happened or what did not happen. And it gave you the sense of grievance and the ability to be heard and to exercise your state and U.S. constitutional and international and human rights on the face of this planet Earth that covers 196,940,000 square miles. And it allows the officers, commanders, to say, you know what? You're an officer, but because this particular person did not argue with you, and because you said this in your complaint and it really didn't happen like this, or you hid this part and you should have disclosed that part, we're going to agree with the person that filed the complaint. And you're out of here, buddy. We're taking you off the streets. We're taking your badge. Or if you're mistaken in your perception, they'll be like, you know what? We looked into that and we feel as though the officer was right in that case. He did what you said he did, but according to the policies and the training he or she received, that's justified because he told you this and you refused. You resisted. And that's the part we have to grasp. That part of resisting arrest. It don't take a lot to resist arrest. I'm not telling you to be a slave. I'm not telling you to be a punk. I'm not telling you to turn the cheek or to love your enemies or none of that. I am telling you, survive. That is what a good warrior does. A warrior is not a gladiator. A gladiator doesn't think. A gladiator fights to be seen of men and women. A gladiator fights to get a trophy, to get a big paycheck, to be considered the champ. But a warrior only fights for principle. A warrior is not worried about dying. A warrior is willing to give his or her life for a principle of truth, freedom, justice, and equality. So there is a difference there. So if you die just death. If you die, let your death be one that you gave away. Don't die because it was a mistake. Don't die and you didn't see death coming. You're supposed to see that coming because of what you said or what you did or what you didn't say or what you didn't do. We're simply just giving you a simple, legal, logical process. Now there's a separate but relevant document that you can also look at under the ACLU. And this particular document is called a General Intake Questionnaire. And basically, this helps the ACLU help you to help yourself. Their thing is immediately get them your name, the date, your address, city, state, and zip code. They need your telephone number or alternate telephone if you got a cell phone. The victim name if it's different, because sometimes it may be a parent complaining for their son or their daughter. The date of birth. Where did this incident occur? City, county, state. When did the incident occur? Be as specific as possible. Please describe the incident in as much detail as possible, including the names of individuals and institutions involved. Were you given any explanation for what happened? Yes or no? If so, who gave you the explanation? What was the explanation? In the second part of the ACLU's General Intake Questionnaire, they need to know, why do you think this happened to you? Sometimes things happen because maybe you and the officer been having these little conflicts on a smaller scale off and on for years. But you never complained. You never filed a formal complaint against him or her. But he keep running you in. He keep getting you locked up. He keep getting you fined and put on probation. He keep sending you to the county jail to do a county bit, or sending you upstate, or sending you to the feds, you see? Or eventually killing you. So you want to be proactive in protecting your rights as a human being under the U.S. Constitution. Have you contacted another agency? They want to know, yes or no. If so, what agency and what is the status of your complaint? Have you consulted an attorney? Yes or no. If so, what is the name and contact information for the attorney? What action, if any, is the attorney taking? Because sometimes the ACLU can't step in if you got a lawyer-client, relationship. They be like, well, you can't even discuss certain stuff with somebody else. So they ask you, may we contact the attorney? Yes or no. Have you done anything on your own to try and address this problem? Yes or no. If yes, describe your efforts. What would you like the ACLU to do for you? Now, there is a mathematical thing we want to be aware of. And mathematically, you want to understand engagement. We may talk real big sometimes. And in this age of social media with Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, sad to say, I see so many young brothers and sisters and even older brothers and sisters playing games with the police. We're in an era of homeland security. If you think you're going to a rally or a march and it's not being observed and recorded, it's not being investigated and analyzed, deputized, and scrutinized, if you are not aware of COINTELPRO or the counterintelligence program of the past, you're naive and you're really not ready for this. You're really in the way. Because what you're going to do is you're going to use rhetoric that's going to get people hurt, that's going to get people killed, that's going to get people locked up. You're going to bring more harm than good to the struggle and legitimate aspirations of our people for freedom, justice, and equality. We live in the city of Philadelphia. Now, what is the statistics? I'm not going to get into all the statistics, but let's go into a few. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Metropolitan Division, this is how many cops is on the street. 11,310. Now you do the math. 11,310 armed men and women with the backing of the state. Each got an automatic weapon. Each know how to shoot real good. Each are militarily trained, backed by the state, backed by Homeland Security, backed by the National Guard, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, backed by satellite surveillance, backed by cameras on the highways, the byways, the roofs, backed by snitches, backed by people who are members of the Ku Klux Klan and the Aryan Nations, backed by people who are deranged and insane, suffering from psychosis, from bipolarism to schizophrenia, people who may hear stuff or see stuff, think you're doing something when you're not even doing something, and you playing games with them. You want to throw a rock or a bottle or reach for your cell phone or go for an ink pen, like, let me write your name down, and yo, gun! You out of here. You have to literally be wise and not act otherwise. We want you to survive whenever you're engaged with a police officer. A police officer is just that, a police officer. He's there or she's there, according to the history of the police, to protect the property of the wealthy in the community and to maintain law and order. Now, when we are violating the law and we're out of order, they are in the law and in order to repel our confusion and chaos. So that means that they can legally bust up outside our head. We can say, okay, Barack, you want the cops to wear cameras. All these shootings we see, most of them is on camera. It's on camera shooting a kid after 2 seconds. It's on camera choking a man out. Now think about it. They choked him out and he's like, I can't breathe, like 11 times. And when he's on the floor unconscious, he's sitting there and nobody is performing CPR. Now my wife is a RN. She's a registered nurse. She's been licensed in this state for over 25 years. She could not believe that everybody kept coming over here to this young man, checking his pulse, and like nobody performed CPR. Huh? Where is the sense of humanity? Where is the sense of justice? This is why the people are dissatisfied. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us that dissatisfaction is 1,000%. Because we see how quick they are to pull a trigger. They not shooting you in the knee. They going for kill shots. They going for the T-zone. They trying to take your head off. They trying to rip your chest open. Because in this country, they look at it like, oh, if I'm out there doing an 8-hour shift, I'm trying to get home to my family like anybody else on the job. So their thing is, if they are going through simulations and scenarios on how to survive, how to shoot the enemy and not shoot an innocent civilian. This is the training they're going under. And sometimes they're not going to make the right judgment. Human nature going to kick in. Sometimes they're going to be afraid for their life. And when adrenaline is pumping and that trigger finger is jumping, they may shoot at you, miss you, and hit the old lady down the street. Think about that. The officer said the brother resisted arrest in the car, so he said the first thing he saw was the head, so he got the gun out, he shot 2 times trying to hit that, and he hit the man 2 times, and he got out the car and ran down the street. This is what he's saying happened. If that man got shot twice and ran down the street, he said it was his duty to get out of the car and chase after him. No, it wasn't. Because he said he shot 12 rounds. Do the math. He got out of the car and shot 10 more rounds in the community. What if the bullet missed the target and hit another officer that was responding? The little girl walking down the street riding her bicycle or something. The old lady going to get a loaf of bread. You don't discharge your round 10 times in a community and the suspect don't have a gun? Come on now. But the grand jury cleared the man. Why? Because they was able to show he resisted arrest. All that stuff, he was over 100 feet, he turned back, that's nonsense. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we in the community, many of us, believe that these shootings are unjustified. Some shootings we like get a little quiet on because we like, well, in that circumstance, that look, you know. But when you see video footage of someone being suffocated slowly and telling you they can't breathe, and you're talking about a Lucy, a cigarette, it's not that serious. You see? It's not that serious. I seen one tape where an officer followed the young man and he was going to the gas station and he pulled him over and he got out and the officer asked him, you know, license and registration, you know, traditional stuff. And the brother was like, all right. And he went to the car to get it. And as soon as he went to the car, he just got them down because he looked at it like, oh, what did you go in the car for? And he shot all that, and the man kept on shooting, shot him on the legs, man, so I can't even feel my legs. I don't know if he got paralyzed or what. And also like, well, what you go to the car? He said, you asked me for my, like, most people had that in their pocket. But it's important that we understand when you are dealing with an armed law enforcement official, sometimes you have to think for them. You have to be like, let me cover the 6 essential elements of who, what, when, where, how, and why. Don't make no unnecessary movements. Let that officer know, officer, my license and registration is in the car. You want me to get it? No. Yes. Whatever. If you don't like the way they talking, acting, please tolerate the bull crap. For right there, it's just some bull crap. Because you're going to be able to walk away from that. Even if you get arrested, charged, whatever, you can always argue that down the line. But you do not want to give that officer justification for saying he cursed me out. He spit in my face. He swung at me. He reached for my gun. He refused to put his hands behind his back. I had to kill him. I had to shoot him 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times. Come on now. People, we grew up in the wilderness of North America. We survived the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade. We know how to survive. We know when something is required and when something is not required. What's understood doesn't have to be explained. You're not going to see me on here playing games with your life. The only thing I'm going to do is give you information and inspiration to do something to help yourself. How to prevent this from happening. How to deal with it if it happens to you or someone you love. These statistics, 11,310 cops, they make $30.09 on an hour on average. With overtime and all that, they make roughly $62,600 a year. They like that job. They got bills like everybody else. But if you get online and you're talking about what you're going to do, if you're at a rally or you're marching and you're playing disrespect, you're playing chicken with a man that has a real gun and the backing and the wherewithal to pull that trigger, you're playing a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous game. We have to be smarter than that. We have to be wiser than that. We have to be able to take the evil E off our emotions and make the right motion. Again, we are not telling you to love your enemies. We're not telling you to be a rat, a chump, or to believe there's justice in the devil's system. We're simply trying to get you to understand your rights, as they say you have those rights. And part of those rights is simply using an official complaint form. These forms, we're going to be sharing them with the various churches, masjids, temples, synagogues, what have you. You'll see them posted in different parts of the city. We ask you to simply go and look it up for yourself. Maybe you could get a copy and download it, just have it in the house. I mean, you might carry a copy of it in your pocket. And an officer would rather you use the procedure and get him cleared or suspended or fired, or you sue him in the court of law, than y'all two clashing out there on the street or in the alleyway or on the corner or in the subway or on the rooftop or in the house or in the bar or wherever you may be. Remember, be wise and survive. We thank you for your time. I am Brother Minister Alif Law, and this is Brother Minister Nazir Law, student followers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, the Supreme Angels. Peace. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu Allah. Peace, God and Goddess. Peace to the gods and earths. Hotep. Peace. We out. Thank you for your time.